Mario, what are you doing? Stop it, why are you—
Hey everyone, Caddy here, and I want to ask you a question. What other games out there allow you to possess a T-Rex, give it a mustache, and then lets you go home to a spaceship that has bouncing teacups in it? None, except Mario fucking Odyssey. The first game I decided to play on my new Switch, and holy shit, what an introduction to a console. Not just for the slick and smooth way you jump from portable to TV and a satisfying click of putting the console in the docking station, and not just for the awesomely subtle vibrations and comfortable use of the Joy-Con controller that gives you optional motion control moves that aren't necessary if you don't want to use them, thank you, but because this is the Mario game I've been waiting for years now. Proper worlds to connect with and that I could remember as I was looking around, open exploration, no dash button, no shrinking when you get hit once, no World 1-1, World 1-2, World 1-3, no extremely basic movements. Ugh. Odyssey calls back to the time that Mario was last on top of the 3D platformer pile in 64, even with a nearly identical moveset which I adore, but not only updated to be the best it's ever felt with pinpoint responsive movement and improved physics. I mean, I can actually jump from a standstill with Mario now and get the distance I expect as well as the height, which doesn't happen in 64. This is the best control scheme in any Mario game, I swear to God, but also updated with how the game plays. Spoilers, alright, okay, nice. In a horrifying twist to the Mario platforming formula, he can now throw his consciousness from one being to another with his new friend Cappy, allowing for fresh, stage-specific and exciting methods of travelling the stages and completing challenges. With only two major action buttons to worry about for each special power-up of the possessed thing, and instant possession and cancellation whenever you want to, this mechanic is second nature and makes navigating the huge levels that much more fun since everything you can possess is designed for the stage that they're in. Even useless things like cacti and drain covers can be possessed and it's hilarious. And that's not all you can do from throwing the cap. There were moves with the hat that I was discovering through experimentation totally naturally without any pandering tutorials like in other Mario games, the best of which by far was the hat dive move to get extra length to a long jump. I use this all the time and it's probably my favourite Mario move to this day. Even the rolling manoeuvre isn't explained, or the dash that you can do during it to keep it going, which made chaining long jumps into rolling hills so much fucking fun. I barely ever used the warp feature on the map unless I needed to reach a great height really fast. And the beginning tutorial level lets you run around and figure things out for yourself, which was very refreshing. Even water levels, the most hated thing to come out of video games of all time, are really fun here since you can possess enemies to swim faster and easier than ever before. Plus the swimming controls are nice and simple enough as they stand anyway, and nowhere near as heavily pushed as they are in other 3D Marios when the pace is completely halted. Even if there isn't a gimmick involved with a possessed creature, then it's something that makes moving around tons easier for the stage that you're in, and that in itself makes it multi-purposeful. And my favourite thing to possess was easily the flying lizard. I got major Spyro vibes finding this guy on the highest points of a few levels and then searching the whole stage gracefully from the skies towards islands that I couldn't reach otherwise. The main thing you do in this game is collect moons, and boy do you collect moons. There are literally hundreds of them, nearly 1,000 to find, and that will put a lot of you off 100% in the game, but well, we'll get to that later. Some are as simple as grabbing in the open, and others are hidden behind puzzles, mini time trials, special enemies needing outsmarting, locked doors that need the right costumes to unlock, jumping into and hat-smacking inconsistencies in level design, climbing walls as 8-bit Mario and then flipping around the corners, jumping up and over intense platforming challenges above and below ground, possessing the right enemy at the right time and making them perform their context-specific actions to reach them, and so much more. It's probably the most open Mario has ever been in terms of what you can do, when you can do it, not giving you too unreasonable numbers of moons to find for progressing the story, and treating you with tons of moons regularly for your curiosity if you're going for completion, or just naturally exploring the world around you, which is easier and more fun to do than ever with Mario's controls. Especially considering all the additional flips, tricks and moves to perform alongside classic 64 actions. Some moon challenges can be breezed through in the complete unintended way to do them with proper preparation with another element of the level, and climbing up to a particular place of the level can be cut in half with a careful eye, much like 64 and Sunshine with those levels that involved ascending tall structures and exploring around them. Admittedly, a lot of the moons require the exact same things to do to get them, and some may see that as an issue, but aside from the constant positive reinforcement I'll talk about in a bit, isn't that kind of expected, especially with this many moons? Mario games are about running and jumping through fun worlds, so of course a few moons will be acquired through similar kinds of means. The main thing is that it never stops being fun, and every single world feels so distinct, not only visually but in the ways that you climb up them or progress through them via platforming or possession abilities, so I wouldn't call it repetitive. Plus the fact that most of the easiest ones, like kicking rocks until one falls out or holding a hat spin on a pole still have the benefit of being hidden from view, so you always feel like you're on a scavenger hunt, and it's very subtly rewarding in that way. The only majorly disappointing thing I'd say is that as the game goes on, I was expecting a lot more additional challenges made for people other than kids that Mario appeals to. And don't get me wrong, it has pockets of platforming gauntlets that last about a minute or so, and moments of treacherous jumping that can punish you with falling down to the beginning of the level and the odd bit where death is on the lines, especially after you beat Bowser and roll the credits. Those challenges can be tough, but that's all additional gameplay on top of what you already went through. The main quest itself I spent over 30 hours on is still pretty spotty, and admittedly that's kinda disappointing. If you're looking for a satisfying Mario in terms of overcoming pure raw challenges, this may not be what you're looking for. Personally, if I wanted more of that in 3D Mario, I'd just play Galaxy 2 or Mario 3D World on Wii U that are just constant platforming challenges. But because of that, for as fun as they aren't my absolute favourite Mario games at all. So I can forgive it here, since I've been looking for this kind of open, atmospheric, stripped back, relaxing Mario with the occasional tense platforming for years now. And to get it portably instead of another fucking new Super Mario Bros. Or 3D Land kind of deal feels that much more epic. I found the balance of challenging platforming against simple, fun, multi-leveled exploration and treasure hunting just right for a game like this. And yes, because of how fantastic the controls are, in this case, I'd love to see more platforming incorporated into this kind of game structure. And whichever game that is where it's used in the future could be my favourite 3D Mario of all time. And that was one of the main things that was stopping me giving this game my highest rating. If they had thrown a bit more Galaxy-esque challenges and fast-paced platforming designs instead of tons more of the same exact stuff, except a little bit harder like in the post-game. Because of that, all the best stuff of the game, in my opinion, is actually after you beat Bowser, especially in the ridiculously nostalgic Mushroom Kingdom. But come on, it took me a good 30 hours plus to get to Bowser with every moon possible at that point, and for a Mario platformer, that is enough time for me. To then discover you basically have another half of the game where the harder challenges lie really fucking exhausted me, and I didn't feel like completing it, at least not for this video. I didn't want to dedicate RPG levels of time to a platformer, especially when the post-game stuff isn't all that different from what you've already been doing for dozens of hours. I really do think the game could have been condensed, and it would have been benefited from focusing more of these harder challenges of the post-game into the main worlds themselves naturally, to not only make them a bit more interesting and dense, but also fit within a more reasonable time that I want to spend on a platform without feeling like I'm going insane doing the same things over and over again for the sake of just getting hundreds and hundreds more moons. Those are the only majorly negative things I can say about the game though, and it doesn't impede the experience too much in my opinion. I'm sure I'll come back to the game soon and give it a go, but I still think that the game is overly damn long when it really didn't need to be. That can make it feel truly like an Odyssey though. I mean, you're stopping Bowser from finally trying to tie the knot with a cap-controlled Peach. Bowser smashed your classic M Mario cap. Every world you venture through is home to another part of the wedding that Bowser needs to collect so that you're in a constant chase to the finish to stop the wedding. And everything that happens story-wise, for as little as it is for a Mario game, during this Odyssey I would even say is worth a look. It's simple but pretty damn funny, with Bowser finally getting to the marrying Peach stage and Mario befriending an interdimensional sentient hat with possession capabilities. And the ending after the final Bowser battle of the main game I won't spoil, but basically I was laughing my arse off, and it definitively concludes that Peach is a total bitch. The amount of jokes done from pure animations, character designs, interactions with the enemies and environments, and what you decide to possess is staggering. Almost as staggering as the amount of content that I couldn't bring myself to put down. And even the most superficial and pointless parts of most Mario games, the coins, are valuable. Not only for buying costumes that aren't just visually amazing but allow you to grab moons, but also buy hints on moon locations, which is basically required for many of them, but without you feeling too guilty for needing the help because it's within the game and you earned the hint through collecting the coins. You purchase other things related to moon grabbing, buy vehicles and quick travel methods for bigger open levels, etc. Luckily as well, the coins are everywhere, from you performing anything that you can imagine, from just grabbing them to throwing your hat on things and smashing shit up, which again is a ton of fun to do with Mario's controls. So you'll be rolling in it in no time, and even the previous moons you grabbed go transparent and give you big handfuls if you grab them. So what happens if you die, if coins are the currency and you don't get more lives from them? Well, there are no lives at all in Mario Odyssey, so it isn't as big of a risk to die, but death does send you back to your last checkpoint you touched and takes 10 or so coins away, which isn't too punishing, but definitely an inconvenience enough that you don't ever want to lose your hit points or your progress in the level. The soundtrack as well is completely fantastic and lends itself to one of the greatest Mario moments in history in the New Donk City Parade, but it's also not typical bouncy Mario 24/7, which I still love, don't get me wrong, but here, for a new kind of game, I found great. It knows when to be jolly and bouncy, when to be beautiful and mystical, and when to be catchy and cool as fuck without overdoing a big brass band ensemble all the time. And the same applies to the visuals, fantastic but not typical Mario. It may follow a lot of conventional traits of Mario with world themes, you know, castle, ice, desert, forest, etc., but not only uniquely named both for the sake of the world building and given us subtitles so that you can easily remember and navigate to other worlds, but it's easily the most unique in terms of sounds and sights within these conventions, along with totally adorable inhabitants. Please tell me there's a plushie Chivarian because I'd buy 20. Mount Volbono feels entirely like an alien planet of food, which it should, and New Donk City with its realistic people feels like another fucking world, which it should, not like Sonic 06's illogical ugly bullshit that doesn't play into any self-aware jokes. After beating one of the bunny bosses from each world, it also opens up even more, giving you not only new visuals and weather sometimes, but also even more routes for shortcuts and new challenges for moons so that you can experience the world you've learned inside out in a fresh and new way. Some worlds are huge and some are pretty small, but I don't mind that. It's nice for variety and for the sake of the pace of the game. Plus the levels are all just as fun as each other, so again, I can forgive slightly smaller stages, and the adventure doesn't have to be huge, bustling universes every couple of steps, which works even more when you play it portably. The game is brimming with joy, imagination, and exploding in positive reinforcement for the most amount of fun from the player possible, and it's not just from the frequency of moons to grab. You get rounds of applause and fireworks for completing not only the simplest tasks, but even random little things like collecting a row of coins quickly or jumping through coin rings in one go. Everything you do feels meaningful, and even if it doesn't feel meaningful, it's instead made to be as slick and simple as possible without being a chore, like going back to collecting coins, for example. In most other games, I feel like I'm really going out my way to follow them after an enemy death and such, but here, no worries. If you kill enemies or kick items along the floor that drop coins, those few seconds of you losing gameplay flow just to follow the thing that blew up and pick up the coins that are dropped are replaced when the coins are automatically just being added to your total as soon as the item breaks or the enemy dies. What else did I love? Oh yes, the map system. The brochure of the kingdom you explore is adorable enough, but it also hides in text gags like with the Forgotten Isle. That shit is brilliant. It even gives you hints on what to do with threats and what to expect on the level, but told through a self-aware holiday kind of way, and oh damn, I just loved this game. What about the hint artworks in the levels giving you vague ideas and directions towards particular moons and other worlds, so in order to solve the puzzle you screen cap that art and cross-check it whenever you want in the photo album to check if your clue deduction was correct, like a proper treasure hunt. I could go on and on about the awesome shit that Mario Odyssey does. Oh wait, the Ruined Kingdom fucking sucked. What a huge waste of potential. This is it. Cool dragon and everything, but come on, Nintendo. Anyway, to conclude, well, yeah, I think this game is way too long and the post-game is far too similar to the rest to be worth playing for an extra 20 hours or so, and the Ruined Kingdom is fucking shit, but I also think it's important to address some of the things said negatively about the game's difficulty and talk about it in my own personal view. Except for the ending kingdom and other bits and pieces in the post-game, Odyssey is probably the easiest Mario for a long time, but I'm gonna argue that that's not necessarily a bad thing. What you need to remember is that everyone has a different idea on what Mario is, depending on where you started playing especially. Everyone has a certain taste bud and type of Mario they prefer over the others, and Nintendo appealed to kids quite a lot, especially with the Switch, with its parental controls and everything. It's more apparent than ever. So for a game reaching out to an entirely new generation of Mario players, as well as 64 fans like myself, this couldn't have been any more accessible yet satisfying, and with a great balance of optional challenge against a nice pace for those who just want to blast through it. I've seen some people disappointed or outright not liking the game at all, and others totally in love with it, but for me, this is everything I ever wanted from a new 3D 64 Sunshine style Mario. And if you're young or never played a Mario game before, I honestly think this is the best starting point against 64 and Sunshine. It's a bit easier than the other Marios for the sake of a new generation of players for sure, but accessibility doesn't always mean bad if your game is designed, presented, and controls as well as this. Toy Story 2 on PS1, for instance, is a great game in my opinion, but is it aimed more at kids that are fans of the film? Yes! Doesn't make it bad though. Much like Spyro the Dragon, I think people forget that these games aren't that difficult. Aside from the spikes like Mario Odyssey has, it's mostly a comfortable journey, especially compared to Crash Bandicoot, but he has some of the most loved games on the PS1. In fact, if you want me to compare this to anything, Mario Odyssey reminds me more of Banjo-Kazooie for its toy box open puzzle solving ability searching gameplay more than outright clever and soulless jumping challenges. So overall, even though 100% of the game is far from my reach, I can definitely say if you have a Switch, get this fucking game now, and I'm confident when I give this a 9 out of 10. It's amazing. If it's your birthday today while watching this video, happy frickin' birthday to you, and please remember to stay beautiful. Hey everyone, and thanks so much for watching this video, and special thanks to everybody on the screen right now that have donated to the show via Patreon. Thank you so much, every single one of these people, and special thanks to all the top tier supporters: Omar Matu, Basil, Patrick Ferguson, Andy Ellis, Robert Alamsha, I Have a Portal Gun, Gamerman, Jane Ives, Carsten, Mitchell Reed, Tiago Pereira, A.D. Thornton Smith, Oblivion Rising, Noxious, Kane Stewart, Ellen Rilpley, Kirsten B, QB, Nathan Young, and Nicole Ganara. Thank you again everybody, and get ready for more Switch reviews in the future.